Okay, here we are. Your teacher made you guys do a lot of stuff with conics. It's been a long unit, okay, but this is it, okay? We're pulling it down. There's really nothing much new today. You're going to see the graphs in a new way of graphing, a new way of me asking for the graph, and it should all make sense. What needs to be really solid right now is you don't need to spend any time thinking about the formulas. Those formulas should be in your muscle memory by now, okay? What's the equation of a circle? Yeah, 8 squared plus y minus k squared equal, okay? What are the graphical terms or the graphical elements that you need to know to graph a circle? Not vertex, center, and what else? Radius, that's it. What are the asymptotes of a circle? The asymptote lines for a circle, what are they? Come on, guys, don't fall for this. There are none, okay? There are no asymptote lines for a circle. All you need is a center radius. Don't get confused with a hyperbola, okay? An ellipse. What's the equation of an ellipse? Yeah, so x minus h. This x minus h and a, this should start to feel very familiar by now. Equal what? 1, okay? What are all the graphical elements that we know about an ellipse? It has a what? Center? What else does it have? It has vertices, right? What else does it have? Yeah, it has 2 of those. What else? Covertices, okay. You're trying to say asymptotes, Kyle, but that's not for an ellipse. Okay, covertices, okay. What about axis? What do we describe the axis of an ellipse? There are 2 of them. What did we say they were? They both start with M. Major, minor. So there was a major. There was a major axis and there was a minor axis. So these were all the elements you had in order to graph an ellipse. Now there was something else called the focal length. The focal length is the distance from the center to where? From the center to a focus. What was the formula in an ellipse? C squared is equal to what? Let's call that absolute value. A squared minus B squared. Okay. Yeah, so this is all the stuff that you knew back when we took the quiz on ellipses. This stuff has to come back before Monday. Okay. Let's move on to a hyperbola. And then let's back up. On the ellipse, how do you know if the ellipse is vertical or horizontal? Yeah. If A is bigger, it's horizontal. B is bigger, it's vertical. Okay. Now, yeah, so 2A or 2B is the length of the axis. Okay. So if it's horizontal, 2A is the major. If it's vertical, 2B is the major. Okay. Whichever one is longer. Okay, the equation for a hyperbola, what's the only difference between the ellipse and a hyperbola when you look at the equation? Yeah, there's just a negative sign there. So it's very similar. Or the other way it can look is like this, y minus k squared over b squared minus x minus h squared over a squared equal 1. Which of those is horizontal? The top one's horizontal, the bottom one is vertical. Okay, so I know that this was horizontal and this was vertical. What are all the graphical elements we have for a hyperbola? Is there a center? Okay, what else? Are there vertex or vertices? There are 2 vertices, right? No co-vertices. What else? Not major, but yeah, transverse. Those lines have a name. Yeah. And it does have asymptotes, otherwise known by Kyle as the lines. Okay. Okay. So those are all the elements. What is the focal length for a hyperbola? C squared equal what? A squared plus B squared. Now the way I try to remember this is that there's a plus sign here, there's a minus sign here. There's a minus sign here, there's a plus sign here. So it'd be nice if they were the other way around, right? But that's what we have. And by definition, the focal length C is always the distance from the center to the focus, okay? Parabola. There are two forms of a parabola. What are they? Yeah, x minus h. Yeah, 1 over 4p y minus k squared. And then just switch the roles of x and y. Which of these is a vertical parabola? Yeah, this is vertical, and this one is horizontal. What are all the graphical elements of a parabola? Is there a center? There's not a center. There's how many vertices? Let's go with one. It's called a vertex. Okay. Focus or foci? Are there one or multiple? There's only one. There's a focus. What else is there? Directrix. Yep. Those are all the elements of a parabola. Okay. So this is the kind of stuff when all this gets thrown together in one pot for your test, you got to be able to keep all of this straight. So, yeah. How do we know? Yes. There's no asymptote on a parabola. The asymptote is only on the hyperbola. Okay. What is the equation for the asymptote? Yeah, y minus k equal plus or minus b over a. Yeah. So that is the equation of the asymptote. Yeah, that's the common mistake. Some people like to put a squared on that. This is no longer a line. What is this now? Well, yeah, because when you put the square, it ceases to be a line. It becomes a what? A what? Starts with a P. Parabola, okay? So you've turned this line into a parabola by doing that. So don't do that, okay? It's the equation of a line, okay? So what we're going to do today is just, we're going to have practice doing what we did yesterday of converting them to standard form. And then I'm going to show you how the graphs will work on your unit test. So what is this? Yeah, this is a parabola. I know it's a parabola because why? There's only one variable that's squared, okay? And which of those variables is squared? The y. So I'm going to write this needs to look like x minus h equal 1 over 4p y minus k squared, okay? So my job is to get it in that form, and what method does that for me? Completing the square. So to get it x minus h, I can write x plus 1 equal 2y squared plus 4y. And I complete the square in which variable? Y. So, but in order to do that, I have to do what? You have to factor out a what? 2. So y squared plus 2y. Okay. Leave some space. What will it take to complete the square here? Adding what? Adding 1 or 1 squared. But what is that doing to the right side? It's adding what? It's adding 2. So I've got to add 2 to the left. So this becomes what? X plus 3 equal 2 y plus 1 squared. Okay. I'm just going to rewrite it here a little bit closer to this. Okay. Now we need to graph it. And so this is what's going to look different for you. This is the way your graphs will appear on your unit test. Okay. Now this is a what? Parabola. Does it have a center? Does it have a radius? Vertex or vertices? How many? Got one vertex. Co-vertices. That's only for what? That's only for ellipses. Focus or foci? I only have one. Does it have a directrix? Yes. Does it have an asymptote? We're going to go with no. That's only for hyperbola. So this is the way your graph is going to look. So I want you to give me everything that's appropriate. So instead of spoon feeding you, graph this parabola and me giving you the things I want, I'm giving you the choice of you provide all these things. So if you give me an asymptote line on this graph, you're a what? You would be wrong, okay? So there is no asymptote for this, okay? So now let's fill in with the blanks of what is there. What is the vertex? Yeah, -3, -1. So 1, 2, 3, -1 is right there, okay? How do I find the focus? I have to do what? 1 over 4p is equal to what? 2, okay? So that's 1 over 4p equal 2 over 1. When I cross multiply, I get 1 equal 8p. So p is equal to what? 1/8. Okay. So is this a vertical or horizontal? Natalie, you okay? Okay, what part? How to figure out what? Okay, well, when the y's are squared, okay, that means for every x you have 2 y's. So for every x value, there are 2 different y values. So it's going to look like one or the other. So it's going to go left or right. This is a graph of don't get confused with hyperbola, but when the x is squared, those are the ones we did all last fall. They go up or down. When the y is squared, they go left or right. How do I know if this opens to the right or to the left? Positive means it goes to the right. So this is going to open to the right. So p is equal to 1/8. So that means something happens on the left and the right of 1/8, right? So if I'm here, don't be afraid of the fraction. If I go to the right 1/8 and I go to the left 1/8, something's going to happen on either side. What happens on the left? What is that on the left? That's the directrix, okay? Because it's going to open this way. So that means somewhere right here, that's my directrix. This is my focus. The parabola does this, okay? Now I just got to figure out what these points are. So what is this vertex here? What is that point? -3, -1, okay? This focus is not quite -3. How far shy of -3 is it? 1/8. So if I was 1/8 away from getting to -3, where'd I be? Yeah, -2 7/8, -1. That's the focus. Okay. The directrix. I went to -3, and how much further did I have to go? Yeah. So the directrix is a line that is x equal -3 1/8. Okay. Does everyone see that? These are just fractions. Okay. They're not your mortal enemy. Okay. So you may see something like this that shows up. Just if you're solid on the concepts, you can get this. Don't worry about, oh, I got to convert to decimal or something. You can handle this. Okay. Kyle is claiming this is a circle. Is he right? Yeah. So it's not a parabola. That's the easiest one to get rid of. It's only a parabola if there's one thing squared. It's a hyperbola if they have opposite signs. And then if they have the same coefficient or different coefficients as the ellipse. So this has to be a circle, okay? So that informs to me how I want it to look. I need it to look like x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equal r squared. So basically complete the square in x and y. So to do that, I'll have x squared minus 2x plus y squared plus 4y negative 1. So what do I have to do to complete the square in x? Add what? Add 1 squared, and here I add 2 squared. So what change is this making? This is adding what? Adding 1, and this is adding 4. So plus 1 plus 4. So what is this? This is x minus 1 squared plus what? Y plus 2 squared equal 4. So and this is where you should be in love with graphing a circle. What are the elements? Does a circle have a center? Does it have a radius? What about any of this other stuff? Okay. Circle has none of that stuff. Don't waste your time trying to find the directrix of a circle or the asymptote lines. All you need is the center and the radius. What's the center? 1, -2. Yeah, 1, -2. What's the radius? 2. So 1, -2, radius of 2. And there we are. Okay. Yeah. So that one should be easy. That's like riding the bike part. That one you got it. You got it. What do we have here? I have heard everything but hyperbola. So let's see. It's not a parabola. It can't be parabola. And yesterday you were all about the hyperbolas. So you've It can't be a parabola because I got both things squared. It can't be a hyperbola because I don't see a positive and negative with these squared terms. So it's either an ellipse or a circle. Circle, the coefficients have to be the same. Ellipse, they're different. So this has to be an ellipse, okay? So it needs to be x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equal 1. So I need to complete the square in both variables. Now, but if I look at this right now, which variable do I need to complete the square in? X. Why not y? It's already, I mean, it's a perfect square when I look at it. So I need to factor out the 2, and then I get what? X squared minus 2x plus y squared equal 4. So what do I need to add here? Plus 1 squared. Okay, what am I really doing there? I'm adding 2. So I need to add 2 over here. Okay. So this becomes 2 times what? X minus 1 squared plus y squared equal 6. Now what do I do? Divide by 6, right? What's 6 divided by 2? 3. So this becomes x minus 1 squared over 3 plus y squared over 6 equal 1. So it's vertical because the b is 6 is greater than 3. Now this is going to, what do you do to find a and b? You take the square root of 3 and 6. What do you get when you do that here? Yeah, you don't get integers, but this is just testing that you are solid with the concepts. You can still do this, okay? So let me write this. I'm going to write it over here. X minus 1 squared over 3 plus y squared over 6 equal 1. Okay. So this is a what? What are we graphing? An ellipse. Does it have a center? Does it have a radius? Does it have vertices? Covertices? Foci? Directrix? Asymptotes? For an ellipse? No. Okay. Hyperbolas are the only ones with asymptotes. Okay. So what is the center? 1, 0. Okay. Now, what is A? Square root of 3, and that's about, I think, 1.7. Okay. What is B? Square root of 6, and that's about 2.4. Okay. So, is this horizontal or vertical? Vertical. So it means B, but when I go up a distance at B, I'm going to find a what? What point will I find? A vertex. Okay. So to find the vertex, I'm going to go up this distance about 2.4 and down 2.4. That's going to give me vertices. Okay. So what are these points? This is the point 1, and then how far up did I have to go? I'm not going to write 2.4, guys. What am I going to write? That's the one vertex. What's the other vertex? 1 negative square root of 6. Okay. Okay. That's one of the vertices. Okay. Now, how do I find the covertices? Covertices, I go over the square root of 3, which is about 1.7, something like that, and back 1.7. Okay. So that point is what? 1 plus how much? Square root of 3, 0. What's the other point? 1 minus the square root of 3, 0. So these aren't integers, but we're doing the same concepts, okay? You go back and forth A and B to find those vertices and covertices, okay? Now, to find the focus, what's the formula for focal length in an ellipse? C squared equal absolute value, A squared minus B squared, okay? So C squared is equal to the absolute value of, what's A squared? A squared is 3. What's B squared? 6. What's 3 minus 6? Negative 3, but what's the absolute value of negative 3? 3. C squared is equal to 3. Therefore, C is equal to square root of 3. Okay? So if C is the square root of 3, C is always the distance from where to where? Center to, not vertex, focus. So somewhere about 1.7 here, that's where I'm going to find a focus, and somewhere down here I find a focus. So that point is going to be what? 1, and then what is this point? 0 plus what? Square root of 3, okay? And then what's this other point? Yep. And there we are, okay? So the numbers were not integers. You might think they're ugly, but there's not a whole lot of computation that had to happen here. You just have to be solid that, well, if this is A tells me in this case how to find a covertex. B tells me how to find a vertex because this is horizontal. C always tells you the distance from the center to the focus. What is this guy? Parabola. There's only one thing squared, okay? So what form of the parabola will I use? Yeah, y minus k equal 1 over 4p x minus h squared. Is this guy vertical or horizontal? Vertical, so it goes up or down. So now we need to complete the square. So I can write 16y plus 33. Basically, I'm saying, let's get the linear terms on one side. Okay, linear term and constant equal negative x squared minus 14x. Now what do I have to do? I got to complete the square in which variable? In x. So this is 16y plus 33, which means I have to factor a what? Factor out that negative 1, right? So plus what? 2 squared? Oh, back up. Plus 7. So that's adding what? It looks like it's adding 49, but what's it really doing? It's subtracting 49. So I've got to subtract 49 over here. And what is that? Yeah, so I get 16y minus 16 equal negative, what, x plus 7 squared? Okay. Now it's not quite in the form I want. What do I need to do now? On the left, let's factor out a 16. So you get 16 y minus 1 equal negative x plus 7 squared. Okay. And now what? No, I'm not. Do you see y minus k all by itself? Divide by 16. Yeah, so if you divide everything by 16, you get y minus 1 equal negative 1/16 x plus 7 squared. So y minus 1 equal negative 1/16 x plus 7 squared. Pardon me? To make it p. Okay, we'll figure p out in just a minute. This is a parabola. Does it have a center? A radius? Vertex, vertices? Uno. You only have one vertex. Covertices? None of those. Focus, foci? Uno. Okay. Directrix? Asymptotes? Okay. So you're not required to X through this on the quiz, but like, to me, I find it helpful to say, okay, these are all the things I don't need. Now let me go find the things I need. You know, otherwise you're tempted to fill in the blanks for all of these. Okay, so if you know there's some, so now in order to complete this graph, I got to fill in the blanks. So where's the center of this guy? Where's the vertex? Negative 7, 1. Okay. So negative 7, 1, that's the vertex. Okay. Is this going to open up or down? It's going to open down. What is P? Yeah, so 1 over 4P has to equal negative 1 over 16. What does P have to do, B, for that to be true? P is negative 4. Okay. Right, you get that? So that means if I go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, something happens. Go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, something happens. Now, which way do we say this guy points? Down. So it's going to have to be this. So that makes this a what? That's a focus, and it makes this the what? That's the directrix. So what's the focus? Negative 3. And what's the directrix? Yeah, y equals 5. And we're done. Okay. So again, there's nothing new here. It's just the way that I'm asking for the graph slightly different. One more and we're done. Okay. What is this guy? Hyperbola. You were all about that yesterday. You're trying to make them all hyperbola. Yeah. So it's not a parabola because I see 2 squared. They have opposite signs. Ding, ding, ding. It has to be a hyperbola. Okay. So the form for this. Now it could take one of two forms. You know, x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equal 1. Or it could be y minus k squared over b squared minus x minus h squared over a squared equal 1. Don't worry about which it is at this point. Just complete the square, and then the equation will tell you which form it is, okay? You'll have something with a negative and something with a positive. So let's gather like terms. So 4x squared minus 16x minus y squared minus 4y equal 4. Move that constant to the other side. Now we'll complete the square in both variables. So factor out a 4, and what do you get? X squared minus what? 4x. Factor out a negative 1. This is y squared plus 4y equal 4. And then what do I use to complete the square here? I add what? I add 2 squared. And here I add 2 squared. Okay. So what is this actually doing here? This is 4 times 4, which is, so this is adding 16. And this is subtracting 4. Okay. So this becomes 4 times x minus 2 squared minus y plus 2 squared equal 16. And now what do? I divide everything by 16. And then that's when I get x minus 2 squared over 4 minus y plus 2 squared over 16 equal 1. So, if you say hyperbola on all of them, at some point, okay, it is horizontal. What you don't know is that, like, when I move that number to the other side, if that number was negative, then when I divide by negative, then it would switch it to being the y and the x changing. So anyway, that's the only thing there. Okay, is there a center to a hyperbola? Yes. Is there a radius? Vertex, vertices? Co-vertices? No. Focus, foci? There are 2 of them. Directrix? The lines? Yes. Okay, there we go. So these are all the things I need to figure out. What's the center? 2, negative 2. And what you want to do when you do this is do a combination of writing the information down and graphing, because sometimes it's easier to get this stuff from the graph. So 2, negative 2. Okay. The other thing I don't ask for, but it's often helpful, what is A? A is 2. B is 4. Okay. So I know that this is horizontal. So if I go over a distance of 2, what am I finding when I go left and right by 2? Yeah, not foci, but vertices. And then when I go up and down by 4, what I'm able to do is to do something like this. That lets me draw the asymptotes. Okay. And I know this thing is horizontal. So that means it has to look like this. So I have already found the vertices. Where are the vertices? Yeah, 0, negative 2, and what? 4, negative 2. Okay, those are the vertices. How do I find the foci? What's our formula? C squared is equal to what? A squared plus B squared. So C squared is equal to what? 4 plus 16. C squared is 20. C is equal to square root of 20. Okay. 2 square root of 5. I would take it either way. You can leave it square root of 20 or 2 square root of 5. Doesn't matter. C, by definition, is the distance from where to where? Center to the focus, okay? Is the focus going to be here or here? Where will it be? It's going to be outside. So somewhere over here is a focus. Somewhere over here is a focus. So what are those points? Not 5. Don't. It's not 5. This is the distance from where to where? Yeah, here's my x coordinate. The distance from here to here is square root of 20. So it's 2 plus the square root of 20. That's my x value. What's my y value? -2. What's the other focus? 2 what? Minus. So 2 minus the square root of 20, -2. Those are my 2 focal points. Okay? And then the equation for the asymptotes is always what? Y minus k. Yeah, plus or minus b over a x minus h. So here you just copy down. Here, this is just filling in the blank. So y minus k, so it's y plus 2x minus 2. So that means y plus 2 equal plus or minus. What's b over a? It's 4 over 2. What's 4 over 2? 2. And then, what is it? X plus 2. And we're done. Okay. Do I put a squared after that x plus 2? No, these are lines. Those are the equations of the lines. Okay. And that's it.